Hello my friends, today we are gonna create this personal or agency purpose website using Next.js. This is the homepage. You can display your projects here. You can use video or image and other components. But the awesome thing is, it's not gonna be a single page application. We will be able to fetch products using different category names. And you will see how easy to handle routing pages, pre-rendering data, and improving SEO ranking of your website. And this design will be responsive for mobile devices. You will learn how to create responsive components using pure CSS. And finally, we are gonna deploy our application using a hosting service. To do that, we will be using Hostinger, one of the most popular hosting providers and the sponsor of this video. There is an awesome Black Friday deal on Hostinger. As you can see, web hosting plus domain is only $1.99. Let's check what's in the plan. You can deploy 100 websites. You will have a free domain and free SSL and unlimited bandwidth. It's amazing. You can choose any time period here. Also, you can consider 48 months option to not miss this opportunity. And if you use the link in the description below or Lama Dev coupon code here, you are gonna get an extra discount. So if you are ready, let's create this amazing website and deploy it here. Okay, I created my folder here. Right now, I'm gonna install my Next application. To do that, make sure that you have the latest version of the Node.js. After that, you can write here npx create next app. And I'm gonna install everything in this folder. So I will say dot and I'm gonna enter. Okay, it's ready. How we are gonna run this app? If you are using yarn, you can use yarn and dev. If you are using npm, you can say npm run and dev. As you can see, compiled successfully, and if you open your browser and write localhost 3000, you are gonna see this page. This is our home page. As you can see, it's similar to React, but there are some major differences. We don't have our app.js here. It's inside this folder. As you can see, it's underscore and app. Basically, this is our main.js file. And our home page is here, index.js. As you can see, everything which we have seen here are here. So I can delete them. We don't need that. I will just write here home page. Let's say this is home page and it's here. Okay. But the awesome thing is we don't need any library to route our pages. Only thing we should do is writing our pages here. For example, about.js or JSX. I'm using this extension that because it's easier to handle HTML elements in a JavaScript file. So I'm gonna create my function like that. By the way, if you are a new visitor, I'm using this extension. You can find any shortcuts here. And I'm gonna write here, this is about page. I will save. And if I come here and write about, as you can see, this is about page. And it's that easy. We don't need React router DOM. We don't need any additional conditions. We are gonna use only this folder. Awesome. So let's create our, I will say footer, and I will say Navbar. So I want to use those components in my homepage. I will come here and say Navbar. As you can see, it's here, components and Navbar. And after my content, I'm gonna call footer. Let's check. This is about page and this is home page. As you can see, they are here. But I want to use those components in any page. This about page, maybe contact page, product page, everywhere. Writing them in any page like that, copy and paste, is not a good idea. That because we can have maybe 10, maybe 20 pages, and it's not the efficient way. So how I'm gonna fix that? It's easy. I'm gonna come here and create new component, layout.jsx. Let's create the function, and I'm gonna call my components here, navbar and footer. And between them, I can write my content. It's gonna be my about content, homepage content, and any other pages contents. So basically, they are gonna be these layouts children. So I will say here, children, and I'm gonna take this as a prop, like that. To use that layout, I will go to app.js, and the only thing I should do is covering this component with my layout. I will say layout, and I'm gonna cover this component like that. Parentheses should be here, and that's all. As you can see, in this case, this is the child. In our layout component, we are gonna have navbar and footer, and between them, we are gonna use this component. So if I come here in the home page, if I delete this navbar and footer, as you can see, this is home page between navbar and footer, and if I come here, and they are here also. If I create any other page, it's gonna be always like that. In this case, we don't have to copy and paste anything. We can use them globally. So what about styling? As you can see, there is a space here where it comes from. We are not gonna create our CSS files in components or pages. Instead, we are gonna use this folder, which is styles. As you can see, there are two initial CSS files here. One of is global CSS and one of is home.module.css. Let me close everything here and I'm gonna open again. Okay, what's the difference between global CSS and module.css? Basically, we can use any CSS which we want to use globally. For example, if I come here and say h1 tag and color red, and if I open my home page and about page, and I'm gonna cover them with h1 tag. This is home page and this is about page. Let's see. As you can see, it's red. I'll check here and it's red also. Anything we write here can be used in any pages or components. If I write here something in the footer, h1, hello, and let's check. As you can see, we can use it in our components also. But what about this module CSS? Basically, we are gonna write our CSS lines which we want to use in a specific page or component. If I go to home page in Next.js, as you can see, it imports styles from this file. It means we can use this module CSS in this page. Let's open again. As you can see, there are many things here. We don't need any of them. They are just initial styles. I'm gonna delete here and I will say h1 and color, I will say blue. Let's save this. By the way, I'm gonna delete here in global CSS and I'm gonna close. If we do that, we are gonna have an error, as you can see here, and it says selector h1 is not pure. It means we cannot use any tag directly here. We have to give a class name or ID. So I will say title. As you can see, it's successful right now. And I will come here and change this class name. But how we are gonna do that? As I said, we are importing these styles from its module and we are using it like that. I know it's a little bit weird, but it's how it works. We will say class name and we will call this styles, and after that we are gonna write the actual class name. In this case, here is container. Of course, we don't have any container here. We can create later or we can delete, and I'm gonna come here and do the same thing. I'll say class name, and I will use styles, and I'm gonna say title. If I save and go to the browser, as you can see, this is about page. This H1 is black, this H1 is black. But if I open here, as you can see, this H1 is blue. We can use module CSS like that. If you want to use your CSS in any specific component or page, you should import it first like that. And you can use it like that. Class name, styles, and actual class name. It's that easy. In this case, I can create here one more module CSS, which is about module CSS, and I can write any styles for this page. But I'm not gonna do that. That's because we are not gonna use about page. It's just an example. Let me show you one more important thing, and it's gonna be this head component. It comes from Next.js, as you can see. And basically, we can write our title and description directly. Let's say Lama Dev, and for the description, the best YouTube channel. If I come here and open my console, as you can see, it's not like React app. And if I open here, as you can see, we have title, any metadata like description, you can add keywords or something else. And the awesome thing is we can use it in any page. Let me delete this. We don't need any favicon. And I'm gonna copy this and paste for about page. I will paste here. Of course, we should import this from Next. I will say import head from Next and head. So I can change this title, about page, and about page of the best YouTube channel. Let's come back and I will open about page, and I'm going to open the console. And as you can see, we have different title, different description, and it's really awesome. It means we don't have any SEO problem anymore like we have in React. So if any search engine optimization is important for you, I think you understood the basic of the Next.js. We are gonna use it like that. Right now I can delete this page. We don't need that. And I'm gonna delete this icon. And let's clear here. I can delete here. Let's create our Navbar CSS first. I'm gonna come here and create new CSS file, and it's gonna be Navbar and module and CSS. Okay, let's import it here. Import styles from and styles folder, Navbar module and CSS. Okay, let's create our first class name here. It's gonna be class name and container. Let's create it here. Container, it's gonna be height 50 pixels and background color will be black. And font color will be white. What else I can say? Oops, by the way, I made a huge mistake. As I said, it's gonna be styles and container. Like that. Let's see first. As you can see, it's here. Right now I can give some padding here from left and right, and I can center them. I'll say display flags, align item center. So it's gonna be centered like that. And after I will say padding 0 and 100 pixels. Okay, I can increase this font size, 18 pixels. And what I'm gonna do is creating my logo. It's gonna be a text, and I'm gonna use anchor tag here. I will say avocado, like that. And if I say here href and index file, it's gonna warn us. And it says you cannot use anchor tag to navigate to home page. Instead, we are gonna use link component, import link from next and link. Let's change it. As you can see, there is no problem anymore. I'm gonna open my page, and if I click, as you can see, we are going to localhost 3000. Awesome. So let's create our first list. I will say UL and class name will be styles.list. And inside I'm gonna create my list items. List item and class name will be styles.listItem. And inside again I'm gonna use links like that. First one will be our design page, and it's gonna go to products and design. I can replicate development, production, photography, and contact page. Development, production, photography, and contact. I will change them also. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's make them horizontal and let's delete those dots there. I will say list item, display inline, like that. And I will give some margin between each other, and font size will be 14 pixels. I will give color light gray, and finally cursor pointer, like that. But I want to separate this logo and this item. To do that, I will come here and say justify content and space between. Okay, awesome. Let's create our second component here, and it's gonna be our intro component. By the way, we have some images here. We are gonna be using them. To do that, I will open public folder. Actually, we don't need them. I can delete. And I'm gonna create new folder. It's gonna be image folder. Let's move them there. Like that. And I'm gonna create one more component. It's gonna be intro.jsx. Let's create the function. I can close them and create my CSS file here. New file, intro module.css. I can write here my container, and we are gonna be using that soon. I will come here and I'm gonna import this CSS file, import styles from styles and intro module and CSS. Let's write here our class name. It's gonna be styles.container, and in this container we are gonna have two cards. Let's say div and class name styles.card. I'm gonna duplicate this, and I'll say first one and second one. Let's call our component here in the home page. I'm gonna delete this h1 tag, and I'm gonna write intro component here. It's here. By the way, we can delete footer and navbar here. That's because we are using them in the layout. And that's all. Let's see. Okay, as you can see, first and second. So what I want is giving a height for this intro. This container is gonna be 100 VH minus this navbar height, which is 50 pixels. And I'm gonna make it display flex so we can see our first and second cards in the same row. Let's do that. I will say width 100%, and for height I'm gonna use calculate method, and inside I will say 100 VH minus 50 pixels. If I write here background color, you can see better writing. Okay, as you can see, after 100%, I'm scrolling and we can see our footer immediately here. Okay, awesome. Let's make this display flags. Okay, they are like that, but how I'm gonna separate them? I'm gonna give width 50% for the first card and 50% for the second card, so they are gonna be same. You can do this by writing width, but there is one more solution which is cooler, I think. I'm gonna use that, and it's gonna be flags and just one. Basically, it separates them in the middle. Let's give padding for these cards. Padding 100, but not for the right side. That's because we are gonna add a title here. If I give 100 pixels here, it's gonna look a little bit weird, so I will say padding right is 0. Okay, let's close here and here. I'm gonna separate this CSS file and I'm gonna shrink here. So what I'm gonna do is writing here my title and description, and we can add a button. Let's do that. I'll say h1 tag, class name will be title, styles.title, and I'm gonna write here digital product agency. Actually, I can write here our brand with different colors, so I'm gonna use span. Actually, I can close here. That's because we don't have any space. You cannot see that. Okay. Inside this span, I will say avocado, like that, with 0. I don't know why, but it looks cooler, I think. So let's give class name for that. I will say styles.brand. After this tag, I'm gonna open new tag. I'm gonna copy and paste my description here. And I'm gonna give class name. And it's gonna be styles.description. And finally, after this description, I'm gonna create a button, and I will say discover. Let's give class name again, styles.button. Okay, let's take care of them. Remember, we have title, brand, description, and button. I'm gonna open intro module and CSS, and after this card, I'm gonna say title, font size will be 50 pixels, and I'm gonna delete margin for this h1 tag. Let's see. Okay, there is no space here, by the way. Let's give our space. Okay, and after that, for brand, of course, dot, it's a class name, so I will say color green, like that. And for the description, font size will be 20 pixels. I'm gonna delete its margin because it's a p tag. And finally, button, let's delete all border here. And I'm gonna give background color, it's gonna be green again, and font color will be white. And it's gonna be bold, like that. I can give some padding and width, maybe it's really small, so width will be 100 pixels, padding will be 20 pixels. Okay, awesome. Maybe border radius 10 pixels, and finally cursor pointer, like that. But they are so close each other, how I'm gonna separate them? I can give any margin, but to consistency, I can make these cards flex box, and flex direction will be column, like that. And if I give justify content for them, we can basically separate like that. So what about this side? I'm just gonna add an image, but there is an important thing here. If I come here and say image alt, as you can see, it warns us again. It says do not use image tag. You can use image component from Next. So we are gonna do same thing as we did for link. So I'll say import image from next, and image. Okay, let's use it here. Image and source. We are gonna be using this image, this one, I think. Yes, this one. I will say image and avocado.png. If I do that, it's gonna show us another error like that because it must contain width and height, or we should basically use this attribute. If I say fill, it's gonna fill all this cart component, its parent here. Let's do that. I will say width 100%, height 100%, and layout will be fill. Okay, as you can see, it fills all this component. That because its parent should be position relative. Otherwise, it's gonna go for the grandparent. So let's fix that. I will come here for the cart. I'm gonna say position relative. In this case, its parent is this cart, and it fills this cart. Another property here we can write, and it's object width, and it's gonna be cover, and as you can see, it looks a little bit better. Perfect, but it looks a little bit empty. Let's create something fancier here. As we did in the previous tutorials, I'm just gonna add here a circle like here or here, and we can add those circles for the other components. So I'm not gonna create in our intro component, I'm gonna create new component here, so we can use it everywhere. So I will say circle.jsx. Let's create function. Okay, it's just gonna contain a div. It's gonna be our shape, and I will say class name is circle. I'm using that like this without any module CSS file. That because it's gonna be our global class name, so it's better to write it in the global CSS. So I'm gonna use it here. I will say height 100 VH, width 100 VH. I'm gonna make it circle, so border radius is gonna be 50%, and I will say position absolute. If I do that, it's gonna be under any image. To prevent this, I will say set index 999, and after that I will give some opacity like that, 0.1. But what I'm gonna do is taking my positions and background colors as props. So I will say background color and top, left, right, bottom, and I can use them in style. Actually, I can say props, and I can write it here like that. Of course, it's gonna be double curly brackets like that. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna call my component here. I will say circle, and I'm gonna say background color, let's say yellow, and it's here. Perfect. I'm gonna change this color like that. Okay, it's better. And I'm gonna give my position, and it's gonna be top minus 50 VH and left minus 50 VH. Like that. As you can see, it's beyond left and top. So I'm gonna create one more circle here, and its color will be this color, and I will delete here, and I'm gonna give right, and it's gonna be minus 40. You can play around this, it really doesn't matter, but there is a problem here. As you can see, I can scroll on the x-axis. To prevent this, I will go to container for this intro, and I will say overflow hidden. I should give position relative also. Okay, awesome. So we finished our first big component. Let's create second one. And it's gonna be services, which includes our service cards. We are gonna basically introduce our products. To do that, I will come here and say services.jsx, and it's gonna be container again, styles.container. I'm gonna import it here. Styles. We don't have yet. Let's create. By the way, I will close this public folder and I'm gonna create new style. It's gonna be services.module.css. Okay, let's close them, by the way. I will say container, and after that I'm gonna import this CSS file, services module.css. Let's write here services, and I'm gonna write into my index.js. After this intro is gonna be services. Here. Let's see. As you can see, it's here, awesome. And basically I'm gonna create a title, a subtitle, and after that we are gonna create our cards. Let's do that. I can close here and I will create two h1 tag here like that. I will just copy and paste. It's not that important. And after that we are gonna have a container for our cards. So let's say div and class name. And I'm gonna say styles.services. It's gonna contain our design cards, development card, production, and photography cards. I'm not gonna write them one by one. I'm gonna create here a file which is data.js. I'm gonna paste my data here. As you can see, it's gonna be our products. Each one has ID, name, title, description, video or photo. As you can see, it has video, but others don't have. Let's use this data. Basically, we can just import this array and use directly here. We can say data.map, and for each item, we can create a card. But I want to show you something else, because I know some of you are not familiar with Next.js, so it could be better for them. So in this case, you can also learn how to fetch data. I know it's a static file, but let's assume it comes from an API. How we are gonna fetch those items? I'm gonna go to index page. That because we are gonna fetch this data in this page. So how we are gonna do that? I will come here and I'm gonna say export const and getStaticPaths. This method allows us to fetch any data before rendering our components or pages. So after that, we can take those data as a prop and we can use it here. And it's a huge advantage for the page speed and also SEO. I'm not gonna deep dive into that, but at least you can learn what the basic is. Later, after a couple weeks, I'm considering creating a Next.js tutorial. And in that video, I'm gonna deep dive into every little pieces. We are gonna learn what the server rendering is, why it's needed, and other important things. But for now, let's fetch our data. If you are fetching from any API, you can write here async function. And let's create our function here like that. And I will say const services. You can name it whatever you want. And if you are fetching this data from any API, you can use Axios or JavaScript fetch. You can say here await, and after you can fetch your data. But our data is here a static array, so we don't need that. I will just say data. And I'm gonna import this from our data, as you can see. just assume that it comes from an API. And after that, I should return my props. I will say return and props these services, like that. And after that, as I said, when you run your home page, it's going to render this function first, and it's going to provide you as services as a props, and you can use it here immediately. I will say services, and let's see what we have. I will say console log and services. Let's see. I will open my console, and here I will refresh my page, and as you can see, our data is here. In the use effect, we are rendering our component first, and after we are fetching our data. This is the main difference. So right now I can use this. Here I can pass as a prop, I will say services equals services, and right now I can take these props here, like that. So we have an array here. Right now I can use it here and map through those services. I'm gonna say for each service, create a new HTML element. It's gonna be a link, and it's gonna go to products, whatever its name. Remember, in our data we have name, we can use it. To do that, of course, we should use backtick here, like that, and it should be inside curly brackets, and I'm gonna say service.name. As you can see, there's a warning here. It says you missed the key prop. That's why we have unique IDs for each service here. We can use that. I will say key, and it's gonna be service.id. Of course, I should import this first. I will say import link from Next. Next and link. Okay, let's write their name for now. I will say service.name or title. And as you can see, they are here. Awesome. And when I click one of them, as you can see, we are in the products and photography page right now. Of course, we don't have, so it shows this error. I can go to home page again, like that. Right now I can create my cards, and I can use other properties here, name, title, description, photo or video. So what I'm gonna do, firstly, let's create a container. It's gonna be class name and styles dot maybe service. But there's a problem here. If you are writing any div inside this link, you should use pathRef, like that. By default, it false. And after that, inside this div, I'm gonna write its title, let's say span, and class name, I will say styles dot maybe category. And inside I can write its title, so I will say service dot title. I'm gonna create another div here, and it's gonna be media container. So I will say styles dot media, and I'm gonna create here a condition. That's because we can use either a video or photo. As I said before, only this element has video, others have just photo. So I will say if there is a video, just use video tag. I will say if service and video, use something. If there is not, use something else. First one will be a video tag. I can close it like that, and I will say source is gonna be service.video. And I can write here other attributes. For example, I will say autoplay. So when we refresh the page, when we run our application, it's gonna play automatically. And after that, I will say loop. And when it finishes our video, it's gonna loop again. And finally, let's give a class name. I will say styles.video, like that. Okay, so what if we don't have any video? I'm gonna use image. Of course, I will import this image. It's gonna be lowercase like that. Let's say if there is no video, use this image. Of course, you should provide here alt tag and also source, and it's gonna be service and photo. But as you can see, we have only its name and extension. We should write here our main folder also, which is images, remember. To do that, I'm gonna use backtick again, and I will say image and service.photo. And remember what we are doing. We should give width and height. It's gonna be 100%, like that. And I will say layout fill or responsive. And finally, object width is gonna be cover. Okay, that's all I think. Let's take care of our CSS file, service module CSS. And firstly, we have a container. Let's see first. Of course, it's gonna look a little bit weird because of those images like that, but we are gonna take care of them. Firstly, I wanna give some padding from left and right for this container. So I will say padding 0 and 100 pixels. And for title, font size will be 30 pixels. And I wanna give a border for the bottom. It's gonna be 4 pixels, solid, and let's say green. Let's see. Okay, like that. But as you can see, it's 100%. I can reduce this width. I'll say width maximum content, like that. So what about this subtitle? It's gonna be weird because subtitle is bigger than title, but anyway, font size 50 pixels and color will be green, but I wanna make this darker, maybe like that. Let's see. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna take care of this service container, that because our images are really huge. So I will say basically service width 500, height 500. If I say that, images will be smaller like that. By the way, where is the first image? Something is wrong there. Oh, what's that? It's just gonna be design. Or what's the name? Let's check here. Okay, we have video here and it's here, but why it doesn't work? If there is a video, we are gonna use that. And of course, I forgot here writing same thing. It's gonna be first image and then service and video. Okay, I have some hits here. I'm gonna give some size for this also. Let's say video width 100%, height 100%, and object width will be cover, as we did for images. Okay, it's better. Right now what I'm gonna do is writing display flags for the container. Remember, we have services here. This is our container. And I will come here and for this container, services, display flags. If I do that, they are gonna be horizontal, but I don't wanna do that because they are 500 pixels. What I wanna do is writing here, flags wrap, it's gonna be wrap. And in this case, it's gonna show them like that. And if they don't fit in this row, it's gonna automatically send them to other line like that. Awesome. I will say justify content, space between, like that. So let's take care of media container. I will say 70%, 70%, and I will make this circle. And if I say overflow hidden, our images and videos will be inside this circle, like that. But as you can see, they are not centered. I will say display flex, align item center, justify content center. They are gonna be like that. I will give padding for them. And I will say margin bottom 50, like that. Let's give a background color and we can see better. I will say white smoke, like that. But I can see here that because it's display flex and this text moves our item to right side. Where is our category? Remember, it's here. I'm gonna take care of this category. I will say position absolute and I'm gonna change its position. What I want to do is taking this text to here. To do that, of course, our parent should be relative, which is service. I will say position relative. And after that, I can give my position. It's gonna be top 10 and left 10. Awesome. I can change its color. It's gonna be gray, and I'm gonna give letter spacing, let's say 5 pixels, and font weight will be 300, like that. It looks much better. Maybe I can make them uppercase. To do that, I'm gonna use text transform, and it's gonna be uppercase, like that. Perfect. So when I hover over this container, I wanna scale up this container, this media container. So let's say service, and when I hover, it's gonna affect my media container, and transform will be scale 1.1. At the beginning it was 1. When I hover, it's gonna be 1.1, like that. But it looks weird that because there is no animation. To do that, I can give animation for this media container. Let's say transition for all animations is gonna be 1 second and ease. Right now it's much better. And when I hover again, I wanna see some description here. How I'm gonna do that? Let's close here. Inside this service, I'm gonna create another div and class name. Let's say styles and description. And I'm gonna write here service.description. I will do the same thing as we did here. I will make it position absolute. Oops, it's going this page. Let's copy this and I will say description, and let's give some width for that. It's gonna be 70%, and text align will be center, and position will be absolute, like that. As you can see, it's under our images. To prevent this, let's say set index 999. It's gonna be here. Let's give some background color. It's gonna be gray, but maybe like that, and I'm gonna reduce opacity. Let's see. Okay, it's much better. I will give border radius 10 pixels and padding will be 20 pixels. Okay, but as I said, we're supposed to see this when I hover this container. So basically I will say opacity 0, and when I hover over, I will do the same thing as we did here. I will say when I hover to service, it's gonna affect our description, and opacity will be 1. Opacity is gonna be 1. Let's see. Okay, awesome. Again, I will give animation. It's gonna be transition all 1 second and ease. Perfect. By the way, it's not playing. Why is that? Our video here, but it doesn't work. Maybe I should write here muted also. Ah, it works. Okay, awesome. I have no idea why it happened, but okay. So let's create other component here. I will close them, and it's gonna be testimonials. I'm gonna create styles also. Testimonials.module.css. Let's create container, and let's create our function quickly, and it's gonna be class name and container. Let's import this. Styles testimonials module.css. Okay, let's add this to our index file, our home page. After these services, I will say testimonials. Okay, firstly, it's gonna be 100 VH, like that, and after that, I'm gonna create my circle component inside. I will say circle. Why it's not coming? Import circle from here. Okay, it's empty right now. That's because we didn't give any background color. Let's say background color. It's gonna be dark blue, and I will say top -70 VH. Okay, we can see that because our container is not relative. Okay, I wanna move this circle in the middle of the container like that, but how I'm gonna do that? If I say left 0 and right 0, it's not gonna be centered. I need to do one more thing, and I'm gonna open my, it was global CSS I think, and here I will say margin auto. And right now, as you can see, it's in the middle of the component. But as you can see, it's overflowing. Remember what we are doing. I will come here, and for this container, I will say overflow hidden. Like that. Firstly, I'm gonna create my title here, and after that, it's gonna be 3 cards. But again, I'm gonna use data for that, and I'm gonna map through that data. So let's open up data, and here I'm gonna paste my data. Let's see what we have. We have unique IDs, of course. They are gonna have logo, user avatar, their comments, their name, and job title. We are gonna use them. I will save here, and I'm gonna come here and create my title first. H1, and class name will be styles.title, and inside I will say testimonials. And after that, let's create our wrapper. Class name is gonna be styles.wrapper, and inside let's use these users. I will say users. Okay, it's not coming. Let's import users from data here. Okay, I can use map right now, and for each user I will say create a cart, class name cart, and inside this cart we are gonna pass our image, their logo, their avatar name, and comments. Let's create first image. I should import, by the way, I didn't give unique key here. It's gonna be user.id. Okay, let's import image from Next and image. Okay, don't forget writing alt and source. I'm gonna use backtick again, and it's gonna be image and user.logo, like that. Let's give some specific width and height. It's gonna be 30 pixels. Okay, they are here. And what else? I will use p tag here, and class name, let's say comment, and inside I'm gonna write user.comment. And after that I'm gonna create another container. It's gonna include user information, which are avatar, username, and job title. So I will say div class name user info, or let's say person. Again, image, source will be image and user.avatar. And I will give width, it's gonna be, oops, where I'm writing, it should be here. Okay, 45, height will be 45, and of course alt. Okay, and after that let's create another div, that because the image will be in the left side and this title and username will be in the right side. It's gonna be independent container. So I will say class name, and it's gonna be styles.info. And inside let's create a span. It's gonna be user.name. It was name or username? Okay, name, and title. I can give class name, styles.username. I will copy this and paste here. It's gonna be styles.job title. Let's see. Okay, let's give object fit to correct them. I will say object fit, it's gonna be cover. Okay, nice. So let's take care of our style. Firstly, title. I will say text align center, and I will delete margin for this h1 tag, like that. But for this container, I can give some padding, or I can directly center them. Let's do that. Display flex, flex direction column, align item center, and justify content. I'm gonna say space around, like that. So what about this wrapper? I'm gonna make this horizontal also. So I will say wrapper, display flex. Again, flex wrap will be wrap. It's necessary for responsive design. And I will say align item center and justify content, space around again. Okay, they are not horizontal, that because we didn't give any size for those cards. They are 100%, and as we said, flex wrap, they are going to other line. If I delete this, it's gonna be like that. So basically, I can give some width for those cards. By the way, did I create card? Okay, it's here. And I will say width 30%. Like that. Have some. Comment. Font size will be 20. Font weight will be 300. Like that. So what about this container? Remember, we have person container. And I'm gonna make this display flex and align item center. In this case, image will be here and other container will be here. So for the avatar, I can make it circle. So I will say class name is gonna be styles.avatar. And here I will say border radius 50 pixels. Sorry, percent. Like that. And for other container, which is info, I will say display flex, but flex direction will be column, like that. And I can separate with this image, so I will say margin left 20 pixels. So what about username? Let's write here quickly. Font weight bold and color will be grayish color like that. And for job title, I will say font size 14. Okay, awesome. But I wanna give more space for here between this component and footer. So for the container, I will say margin bottom 100 pixels. Of course, it's not gonna be margin. Otherwise, it's gonna be really large. I will say padding. Okay, awesome. So let's quickly create our footer and take care of other pages. I will open up my sidebar here and create new style. Footer. Container, and let's close them. I'm gonna create my new component. Actually, we did before, it's here. Let's import this CSS. Styles. Okay, I can use it here. Class name is gonna be style. Actually, we always say styles, so it can be styles. And it's gonna be container. Okay, what we are gonna do. Firstly, I'm gonna create 3 cards. One of them will be bigger than others, and it's gonna include 2 texts, and others are gonna include our address and social media accounts. So let's say div class name is gonna be styles.cardLarge. I'm gonna create 2 more, but they are gonna be small. And inside this large one, I'm gonna create 2 title, h1, my text here, and class name styles.title. And it's gonna be 1 more h1, but this time it's gonna be link title. We are gonna give a link for contact page. So I will come here and say span work with us, and I'm gonna create image. Source will be image link.png. Let's import this. Import image from next and image. So I wanna give link for those 2 elements, so I'm gonna import link, lowercase, and I'm gonna give link here. Let's cover them, and it's gonna be href and contact page. And again, we should give pass href here, and let's see. But we don't have contact page for now, so it can be anchor tag, and we are gonna change it later. And it says we forgot sizes here. It's gonna be 40 pixels, 40 pixels. Let's see. Okay, like that. For other cards, I'm gonna create a div, and class name will be styles.cardItem. And first one will be, let's say, some street. And I'm gonna give a break here, USA, for example. And I'm gonna duplicate this container. And this time, let's say contact at lama.dev. And here I will write some phone number. I hope it doesn't block anyone. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the other card. Actually, I can copy and paste it like that. There is nothing unique. It's gonna be styles. Okay, let's see. Nice. Let's take care of them. For my container, I will say height 250 pixels. And I'm gonna give border for the top. Border top 3 pixels, solid and black. And I will say display flags, justify content, space around, and font size will be 18 pixels. I can give some padding 50. Okay. But they are not centered. Let's say align item center here. Perfect. And what about title? I will say font weight 400, like that. And I will change the color to white and background color to green. I can give padding maybe. And for other title, link title, I will give underline. To do that, I'm gonna use text decoration. Underline, like that. By the way, where is our image? I can't see that. Oh, typo. Okay. As you can see, they are not centered and also they need a space here. So I will come and I'm gonna write here link and display flags, align item center. And if I give a class name for this text, I can separate them. So for this text, I'm gonna say class name styles.link text. Let's copy this and paste here. I'm gonna say margin right 20 pixels. Okay. By the way, I wanna make this large container a little bit bigger. So I can come here and say cart large, flags 2, and for cart small, it's gonna be flags 1. Oops, it's still same. Of course, a cart. Okay, it's better, but let's reduce this text size. For this title, I'm gonna say width is gonna be max content. Okay, right now it's bigger. So what about those items? I will say cart item, font size 14. I will give margin bottom like that. Maybe they're too small. It's better, I think. We don't need that. Okay. It's a really creative web page. It looks really nice. And when I click this button, it's gonna go to contact page. And when I click those items, it's gonna go to product page. So how we are gonna fetch data for those items? As you can see, there is no page right now. Let's create our products page and let's fetch data for each parameters. So I'm gonna close everything here and let's create our product style. I'll say products module CSS. I'm gonna create container. We are gonna take care of this, but how I'm gonna handle this page? By the way, I can delete this API folder. We don't need that. I'm gonna show this to you in other tutorials. So what I'm gonna do here, if I create new file and say products.js, it's not gonna work that because it's gonna work just like this. But I wanna different names here, any names. To do that, I should create a folder. It's gonna be products, and inside I'm gonna write my name like that. Of course, JS file. And in this case, products will be my main URL and name will be whatever we write here. Okay, let's create our function and let's talk about this. Of course, we cannot name this like that. It's gonna be product. Remember how we are fetching data using getStaticPaths, but in this situation, it's a little bit different because we need a path. What's path? Basically, it's our name, which we write here. For each specific name, we are gonna fetch different data. For development, we are gonna fetch only this data. For design, for development, this data and others. To do that, we should decide first what's gonna be our path. It's really easy. In Next.js, I will say again export const. This time I will say getStaticPaths. And again, it's gonna be async function. If you are fetching from any API, in this case, we are just assuming that we are fetching from any API. In this tutorial, you don't have to write this, but it will be better for you to remember what we are doing here. So I'm gonna fetch my data first. I will say const products, and it's gonna be our data. I should import this here. Import data from data. And by the way, let's import our CSS file. Styles from styles and products module like that. And I'm gonna write here class name styles.product. Container. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here? We fetched our data, and after that we should decide which path we are gonna use. Let's open up our data again. You can choose any property here, and I want to choose this name for our path. You can name it whatever you want. It can be category ID or Slack or something, but in this case we are gonna be using name. So how I'm gonna do that? I will say const paths, and it's gonna be products, and I'm gonna map through this array, and for each item I'm gonna return something. I will say return, and it's gonna be params. And in this object I will say name equals item.name. Right now we have paths, so we can return it. Return paths, and here I will say fallback. It's gonna be false. Again, as I said, I'm not gonna deep dive into any pre-rendering things. I'm just gonna show you the example in the next tutorials. Don't worry about that. And after that, I'm gonna fetch my data. Again, as we did before, const getStaticProps, and async function, and I'm gonna write here my context, and this context will be this object, params name and item name, and we are gonna use it here. I know if you are not familiar, it's a little bit confusing, but after a couple examples and projects, you are gonna see how easy to fetch data using Next.js. So I can take my name using this context, const name. Of course, you can name it whatever you want. So I will say context and params and name. Remember, I said context is this object. I am taking this name. Okay, Right now we have our name for each page. If I go to design, it's gonna be name. If I go to development, it's gonna be name. So according to this name, we can fetch our data. I will say const single product, and it's gonna be data.filter. Again, in the real world example, when you fetch from any API, you are gonna use await and Axios, but for now, it's gonna be like that. We are just using our static array. And I will say if item.name equals our name, which is our parameter, we are gonna fetch this data. Of course, I should say first element, because if we filter array, it's gonna return again an array. If I say first element, it's gonna return us an object. And this object will be for design name, this object, for name development, this object, like that. And after that, as we did before, I'm gonna return my props, and it's gonna be product. Again, we decide what parameters we are using. In this case, we are using item names. And after that, for each URL here, we are gonna fetch data. We are gonna take this name like that, and we are filtering our item or fetching from API, and we are getting this product. And at the end, we are passing this product as a prop. As we did before, I can use these props here. It's gonna be product, and I can use it right now. I'm gonna create two cards, div, and class name will be cards, styles, and card. It's gonna be card large, and second one will be small. And what I'm gonna use here, let's open up our data and let's add something more here. I'm gonna also add longer description and some images for each item. So I'm gonna basically delete here and paste the new one like that. As you can see, we have long description and some images for each item like that. We are gonna have 6 images. So I can use them right here. So let's create image container, and we are gonna map through these products images, and we are gonna show all of them. Product dot images, and I will say map, and for each image I'm gonna return one more container. It's gonna be image container, and inside this container I'm gonna show my images. Of course, I should provide here my unique key. It's gonna be image.id. We are gonna use those IDs. Okay, let's import this. Import image, next, and image. And also I'm gonna import link. Okay, let's write here our source. It's gonna be image.url. As you realize, we are not using our public and image folder anymore. We are using directly this URL. If we do that, it's not gonna work. Let me show you. I will say with 100%, height will be the same, and object width will be cover, and of course alt. Okay, let's see. I will save. As you can see, there is a problem here, that because we cannot directly use any external URL, it's really easy to handle. Only thing we should do is coming here and opening Next.js and config, and here I will say for images I can let any domain here, and my domain will be images.pexels.com. In this case, I can use any image from this URL. Let's save it, and Of course, if you are changing your config file, you should definitely start your application again. And as you can see right now, it works. Awesome. We have 6 images. We are going to handle them later, and we are going to create an awesome layout here. And after that, for the small cart, we are going to add our title, description, and button. Let's do that actually. For the small cart, h1 tag and p tag, I will just copy and paste. There is nothing different. Styles title, and it's going to include our product title and product description. And after that, I'm going to create a button. I'm not going to do the same thing again and again. Probably you get bored. So I'm going to copy and paste. It's almost done. Just hold on. And we are going to have this button. And it's going to go to contact page. Like that. It's here. So let's give some style. I'm going to open product module. And for the container, firstly, it's going to be display flex, and I'm going to give some padding. Like that. And for large cart, I'll say flex 2. And again, it's going to be display flex. And flex wrap will be wrap. And for small cart, flex will be 1. Okay, let's take care of our image container. For each image container, it's going to be 30%, and margin will be 5. Oops. Margin 5 pixels. Like that. But images don't contain all this screen, all this container. Let's see what's wrong. Okay. I forgot here layout. If you say layout fill, you can make this position relative, or you can basically use here layout, and it's gonna be responsive. Okay, right now it's much better. Right now I'm gonna give some style for this element, only for this one. How I'm gonna do this? I'm gonna grab this item and I will say and child, and this is gonna be my third child, so I'm gonna write here 3, and I will say border top right radius is gonna be 50%. Of course we cannot see that because this image is covering. To prevent this, I will say overflow hidden. Okay, awesome. Right now only this edge is circle. And we can take care of our title. I will say font size 60 pixels. And for this button, did I give this class name or not? Let's see. Okay, it's here. So I will say padding 15 pixels. I'm gonna delete this border. Background color will be green and font color will be white. Font size will be a little bit bigger, and I will give border radius like that, maybe some space here, margin top 50 pixels, and finally I will give cursor pointer, and that's all. It looks awesome. If I go to another page, production, they are actually changing, but images are the same, so you cannot see them. But at least you can see this title here for this one, and it's changing according to our parameter. So if I click here or here, we are gonna go to contact page, but we don't have yet. So let's create this, and after let's take care of our responsive design. Let's do what we always do, style, contact module. I will write here my container and my component. Actually, it's gonna be a page. Sorry, it's gonna be here. So I will say contact.js. Let's create function. Import styles from contact and module. And it's gonna be a container, class name, styles.container. Okay, it's gonna be a really basic contact page, nothing fancy, but maybe we can add our circles here. Circle component, let's call this here. Import circle from components and circle. Okay, let's give background. Background color is gonna be green. Let's give one more, and then we are gonna handle their positions, and it's gonna be yellow. Let's see. By the way, it's product contact. There is something wrong with our navbar. Okay, it's gonna be only contact. Let's see again. I'm clicking. Okay, it works. As you can see, we have only navbar and this footer. So let's add something inside and take care of those circles. So I will say h1 tag is gonna be our title, and I'm gonna say get in touch. Class name will be styles.title, and I'm gonna create a form here. Styles.form, and inside I'm gonna create 4 inputs and 1 text area. Let's do that. I will say input. Let's give class name input, but it's gonna be input small. That because the username and phone number will be small input and others will be a little bit bigger. So I will say placeholder, and let's say username. And I'm gonna duplicate this. It's gonna be input small also for phone number. Let's make them uppercase. It's gonna be email and subject. And it's gonna be input large, like that. Let me close here. And finally, we are gonna have a text area. Let's say text area and placeholder your message, or just message, like that. By the way, we can provide here any row number, and it's gonna be just 6 lines. And after that, let's create our button, and after we are gonna change our style. Class name styles.button. Okay, let's see. It looks like that. Let's come here and change its style. Firstly, I will say display flags. Flags direction will be column. Remember, we have title here and form. They are gonna be vertical, and I'm gonna center them. Align item center, justify content center. Okay, like that. I don't want any overflowing here, so I will say overflow hidden. And of course, I should use position relative. Okay, awesome. What about this form? I will give some width and height. It's gonna be square like that. And I can give some padding like that. I will say display flags, and flags wrap will be wrap. Input smalls will look like that, but email and subject will be 100%. Let's take care of them. I will say input small. Let's say flags 1, and height will be 50 pixels, like that. And I can give padding for these inputs, so I will say padding left 10 pixels. Okay, let's give some space here. To do that, I will use first child, and it's gonna be margin right 5 pixels, like that. So what about others? Input large, and it's gonna be with 100%. So it's gonna contain whole form here, and again height 50 and padding left 10 pixels. Okay, let's do the same thing for this text area. I will duplicate this and I'm gonna delete height, and it's gonna be text area. Okay, it didn't work. I think class name is different. Okay, it's gonna be uppercase like that. And awesome. So what about this button? Button, I will say margin top 20, and I will give some padding like that. I'm gonna delete border. Border radius will be 10 pixels. Okay, it's not applying either. Oh. Okay, perfect. Let's give color, and background color is gonna be white, and background color, let's say green, but it's gonna be darker, maybe like that. And width will be 100%, so it's gonna contain here. Let's give font size 16 and cursor pointer. Okay, it looks nice. So what about those circles? I will say left, it's gonna be -40. Okay, something like that, but I wanna see this beyond this top. I can give a little bit, let's say -20, VH. Okay, and this yellow one, I will say right, -30. And bottom will be -60. Okay, it looks pretty good. And we finished our design, I think. Let's check. It's our home page. Our services. It looks really nice. Testimonials and footer. If I come here, it's gonna open this page. Of course, you can change images, or you can put here a slider or something like that, but it's okay for me. As you can see, our application works perfectly. And if I click here, we are going to contact page. So it's a minimal and efficient agency website. But what about responsive design? To do that, we are going to use media query. Since we are not using style components or any other UI framework, we are going to do this in our style files. So let's open up our first page, which is intro. And I'm going to open one more and we can compare our changes. I will come here and I'm going to say media screen. And I'm gonna write here my condition. I'll say and max width, and it's gonna be 480 pixels, which is for mobile devices. So what I'm gonna change here? Firstly, if you want to, let's comment out this navbar and footer because they are really long, and even if we change our component here, it's not gonna look good. I will open layout and here I'm gonna comment them out like that. Okay, as you can see, our intro component looks like that. Let's change it a little bit. Firstly, it was display flex. This time it's gonna be flex direction column. Okay, for our card, I'm gonna reduce this padding and I'm gonna center them. It was space around, as you can see. Let's do that. I will say card padding will be 50 pixels. I will say align item center and justify content center. And I'm gonna center those components. And if I say text align center, they are gonna be centered like that. I can delete this description. It looks weird for mobile phones. So I will say description display none. Like that. Title is too big. Maybe we can reduce that. Let's say font size 30 pixels. Like that. And maybe margin here. Margin bottom. Okay, it looks pretty nice. Of course, we are gonna add our navbar later. Actually, we can delete those circles. I don't know, it looks actually nice here. I don't know, maybe. Okay, let it stay for now. But it's gonna be a problem for contact page, I think. Okay, we will see. Let's take care of this page. I'm gonna open services module. And I will open here again. And let's see what we have. Again, I'm gonna write here my condition like that. And for container. As you can see, padding is too much. Maybe we can reduce it. Let's say padding 20 pixels. Like that. And for those cards, let's see. Their width and height is really high. So I'm gonna say service and it's gonna be 300. Like that. If I say services and justify content center, they are gonna be centered like that. And it looks really nice actually. There is nothing to change. It works perfectly because we use display flex and flex wrap. For these testimonials, again, I'm gonna copy here. And paste it like that. We have padding bottom here and it's too much again. Container and I will say padding 20. I can increase this title a little bit. I will say title, font size 50 pixels. Okay, margin bottom. For cards, I will say width 100%. Let's center them. I'll say display flex. Flex direction will be column. Align item center and justify content center. Like that. I can give some space between them. Margin bottom. Like that. But as you can see, we cannot see this logo here and we cannot see this user here. That's because our container is 100 VH. But I'm gonna change it here. It's gonna be height auto. Like that. So right now height is not important. So we can see our items like that. By the way, I can center this item. And for this card, I will say text align center. And it's going to be like that. Awesome. So we can open our footer right now. Let's close here and let's say footer. Sorry, layout. And I'm going to open this. And we can open footer CSS. I'm going to open my media query here and let's see what we have. As you can see, again, they are horizontal. We are gonna change it. And we have height here. It's gonna be auto again. So I will say container height auto. And flex direction will be column. They are really big. Let's make them smaller. We have title and link title. Let's copy them here. And font size will be 30 pixels, like that. And I can center those items. What we have here, we have cart items. It's gonna be text align and it's gonna be center. By the way, I should move this curly bracket here. And it looks like that. Maybe font size, I don't know if we should give or not. Maybe 15. Okay, it's nice. It's not that important. So we finished our home page. What about those pages? Let's click one of them. By the way, you can use any head here. We didn't write anything, but as you know, we have this product and you can write here this product.name, and for description you can just paste here or something like that. So as you remember, we have some images here in the left side and this is the right side. Let's open up our CSS first. I will say product. We have container here, display flex. I'm gonna change it. I will say container and flex direction column. But if I do that, our images will be here and the actual title and description will be here. It's not the efficient way because users will see those images first. I wanna change this. I wanna see this component first. So what I'm gonna do is writing here column reverse. So we are gonna see our right side first and after that this first component, our large component. Let's change this title. I will say title, it's gonna be font size 50. I can center them. Remember, it's cart small. I will say display flex, align item center, justify content center. Oops, of course it should be column, not reverse, column. Okay, perfect. But as you can see, our images are really small. That's because we set, let's see what we set. Okay, we gave width and height and we set responsive, but as I said, you can do also without any width and height and you can write here fill. But if you do that, of course your image container should be position relative. Right now we can see them, but if I close here, as you can see, it's exactly the same thing. And remember why we are doing relative. If I comment this out, it's gonna cover all its parent. Sorry, grandparent. If I do that, its parent will be this container, so it's gonna contain this image container. Okay, let's open up again this console. Let's change this image container width here. I will close this JS file and here I will say image container with 300, height 300, and they're gonna be like that. But they are not square because of this padding I think. Let's see, we have 50 pixels here. I'm gonna reduce that. It's gonna be 20 pixels. Okay, perfect. I can give margin for this button. margin 20 and 0, like that. Okay, but those images look a little bit weird. They're all square and I don't know, I didn't like it, so I'm gonna make them circle. So I will come here, border radius is gonna be 50%. And if I say overflow hidden, they are gonna be circle like that. But we have some description here and contact button, but we don't have any title for them. We are just showing our images. So how I'm gonna add a title here? To do that, we are gonna use before or after selector. How we are gonna do that? Remember, this is our image card. We can use it. I will say card large and I'm gonna use selector before, and here I can write any content. So it's gonna be projects, for example, and I'm gonna give some size for that, 100%. As you can see, it's here. We can write anything before this component or after here. So what I'm gonna do, let's give font size, and I will center this text, and I will give margin bottom, like that. I think it looks better. Have some. So we have only navbar right now. Let's close here and open our navbar. Firstly, let's delete those items here, this list. So I'm gonna open navbar here and navbar CSS is gonna be here. And firstly, let's delete this list, which is list here. So I'm gonna come here and say list and display none. Okay, I can reduce this padding here. For container, padding will be 0 and from left and right 20 pixels. Okay. Right now what I'm gonna do is adding here a button. After those links, I will say div and class name will be Hamburger. It's gonna be our hamburger menu and it's gonna contain 3 lines. So I will say div and class name is gonna be line. Oops, what I'm doing? It should be style, of course. Styles and line. I will duplicate this. We are gonna have 3 lines and let's give style for them. It's gonna be before media query. I will say hamburger display none. That because if it's not for mobile devices, we are not supposed to see it. So if it's mobile device, I will say hamburger is gonna be with 25 pixels, height 20 pixels, and cursor will be pointer. And for those lines, I will say with 100%, height will be 3 pixels. You are gonna understand better right now. Background color will be white. Okay, we still cannot see that because it was display none, but we didn't make it display something else. Let's say display flex, and flex direction will be column. Like that. As you can see, 3 lines are here, but I wanna separate them. To do that, I will use justify content and it's gonna be space between. Like that. Awesome. It looks pretty nice, but we don't have any menu. When I click here, we are gonna see a menu here. Of course, you can create a component here. You can say menu but I want to directly create inside our navbar. So after this menu, I will say new UL, and it's going to be class name, styles, and menu. And inside, let's create our list items, style, menu item. Actually, I can directly copy and paste those LIs like that, but this time they are gonna be menu item. Okay, let's close here and let's write this menu here. I will say position fixed all the time. When we open that, it's gonna stay here. So let's give height. As you remember, we can use calculate. So I will do the same thing, 100 VH minus 50 pixels, which is our navbar size, with 50 VW. So it's gonna be a half screen menu, and background color will be black. Of course, for container, we should say position relative, and I'm gonna give position for that. It's gonna be top 50 pixels. As you can see, it's 100%, but why there is a space here? It's because of UL HTML element. So if I say margin 0, padding 0, we are not gonna see that space like that. So let's take care of those items. I will say font weight bold, color will be light gray, and I'm gonna delete this list style. It's gonna be none, like that, and I'm gonna separate them. How I'm gonna do this? If I say display flags, align item center, but justify content space around. Oops, of course, column. Okay, perfect. As you can see, this image on this menu, so I will say that index is going to be 999, like that. So by the way, if it's not media query, it's going to be again display none. We are not going to see this menu, but if we use any mobile device, it's going to open up. But as you can see, its position is here. If I say here right 0, it's going to be here. But I'm going to do this dynamic, that because when we click this button, this hamburger button, we will be able to open or close this menu. So I'm not going to write here. I will delete, and I'm going to open Navbar JSX. And here I'm going to use useState. I will say const open and set open. It's going to be useState hook. And at the beginning it will be false. And when we click this hamburger menu, I can close or open that. So I will say on click event, and it's going to be set open and opposite of this open. When it's true, it's going to be false. When it's false, it's going to be true. So I can write my condition here for this list. So I'm going to use style here, and I will say for right, if open is true, it's going to be 0 pixel. If it's not, it's going to be minus 50 VW. So it's going to be beyond our right side. By the way, there is a typo here. Let's see. Okay, we cannot see it because it's somewhere here. When I click this button, as you can see, it's coming. I will click again. It's going and coming. Of course, we can add here animation. So I will say transition 1 second all and is. Let's see again. As you can see, it's right now animated. But when I click any button here, it keeps staying here. To prevent this, I can add one more function for this URL, and I will say on click. When we click on this list, again, I'm gonna set my state is gonna be false. Set open and false. So when I click any of them, as you can see, it's closing and it's opening this page. Awesome. But we forgot this contact page, I think. Okay, let's take care of this quickly. I will say contact. As you remember, we have width and height here. We are going to change them. I will write my media query quickly. It's going to be form. I will say width 100%. Like that. And as you remember, for this first child, we gave this margin. We can delete it. I will say input small and first child, and margin will be 0. Like that. By the way, for this intro, those circles look really nice, but for the contact page, I didn't like it. We can delete them actually. So I'm gonna copy here and I'm gonna open global CSS. And here I will say for circle, make this display none. Like that. It's much better and clear and it looks really nice. And of course you can give class name for those circles and you can open for here and close for contact page. It depends on you. And it looks really nice. We have an awesome menu here. Our projects look nice. And this is desktop version. It's really nice. I like it. So if you want to make it responsive for other devices, you can use those breakpoints, mobile device, iPads, or any tablets, small screens, and desktops. So you can use them and you can arrange your components. I'm not gonna do all of them. So what I'm gonna do is deploying my app. To do that, we are gonna be using Hostinger. So after purchasing your hosting, you are gonna see this screen. So you can claim your domain first. I will say Lama Dev. It's not available, I think. Yes. I wonder who bought this. So let's try net. Okay, it's available, free for 1 year. So I'm gonna claim this domain. And it's ready. Okay, it's ready. We can set up our hosting. It's here. I'm gonna set up. Let's start. There's a survey here. I'm gonna skip that. We are not gonna use any platform like WordPress or any other CMS, so I'm gonna say I will start from scratch. We are gonna choose our domain. You can choose your server location and finish setup. It's gonna take a while. So let's build our application. Of course, we are gonna need some configurations. Let's handle them. Firstly, I will go to package.json and here I'm gonna add one more thing and it's gonna be next and export. If we do that, when we build our application, it's gonna create a folder here in our main folder. So we are gonna use that folder and upload them to the hosting. So what else we are gonna need? If I try to build my application, it's gonna give some errors. That's because we are gonna have some problems with those images. Remember, we are using Next.js images, but if you are using static images, when you export them, it's gonna give you an error. To prevent this, you can either make them normal images like that, HTML image tag, or you can write another configurations. Let's make the second solution. Firstly, I'm gonna come here and create an env file, and I'm gonna paste my new URL. By the way, if you are using env file and public keys or URLs, you have to use next_public_ and whatever you name it. We can use this URL right now. If you remember, in next.config.js, we use this image URL. Additionally, we can use our new URL. So it's gonna be lamadev.net. Okay, and also I'm gonna write here loader image ix, and I will say path is gonna be an empty string like that. And after that, we should write here our URL also. So I'm gonna say process.env, and remember our URL, this one, and I will say plus this URL. So in this case, it's gonna be lamadev.net and image avocado png. Okay, I should use it like that in every page. I will save here. What else? Footer. It's gonna be here. Like that. I will say plus. And we did intro, layout, navbar, maybe here. Okay, we have image here, so I will say process env like that. Testimonials, we have two images here, so I will say for logo and for user avatar. And that's all, I think. Let's try. I hope everything is okay. I'm gonna open my terminal and I'm gonna say npm run and build. It's gonna take a minute. I'm gonna stop right now and I'll see you then. Okay guys, I had one more error because of this link. Don't forget here, if you are using multiple components here, just use React fragments. And after that, I export my output and it's here. Only thing I should do is taking those files and folders and moving to my hosting server. I opened my dashboard and here, files section, and click here. It's really easy to use. You can just drag and drop. I'm gonna open my public HTML and let's delete this one. It's just a default file and I'm gonna take my files and move them to here. And it's ready. Let's check. Okay, as you can see, we cannot see our images. That's because, let's check. It's Navbar. This is our intro component. And this is our image. As you can see, our connection is HTTPS, but here we are not using any SSL certification. Let's activate this. I will come here and for SSL, I'm just gonna set up lamadev.net and install SSL. And that's all. And as you can see, our connection is secure right now. And awesome. If I go to any product page, our URL is like that, and we can see our images. Awesome. It works. Let me open mobile version. Perfect. So we finished this project. I hope you liked it. If you learned something new today, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And you can support Lama Dev by using the join button or the link in the description below. And don't forget to follow Lama Dev's social media accounts. And that's all. I hope I'll see you in the next tutorial. Goodbye.